Oh boy, time now for another exciting episode of Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics. Couldn't do a live stream because I'm out of time and all that kind of stuff, so I'm going to quickly go through this. I do have a new stack of comics, but again, didn't have the time to get to all of them. I will discuss Justice League, the latest issue of that one. So I'll do that at the tail end here. But I decided to make this a show about my ongoing coverage of the original Hobgoblin story, which succeeds the original, well, the Green Goblin story, the original and the other two who took his place. So anyway, here we go. This is Amazing Spider-Man 249. The last time Spider-Man dealt with the Hobgoblin was over in the sister magazine, Spectacular Spider-Man, where the Hobgoblin gained his new superhuman strength and demonstrated his powers, battling Spider-Man and his girlfriend at the time, the Black Cat. So now we get to this part of the Hobgoblin's plans for not just the weapons and powers that he's gained by going through Norman Osborn's, stuff, but also Norman Osborn's journals, which held a lot more than just superpowers and weapons and all that, was information, and he puts it to use for extortion purposes. And boy, this cover looks really bad, doesn't it? But it's the interesting turn of things in which Kingpin actually does save Spider-Man's life in this story. So we open up, Spider-Man stripping for some hot chick, no, not exactly. And she doesn't have her glasses on, so she can't see too well, so she doesn't notice that, he's in a Spider-Man suit. But anyway, the title's called Secrets. Why? Well, because Hobgoblin's blackmailing people for their secrets. And one of those people, J. Jonah Jameson. So it's an interesting thing here because it does make sense, and Roger Stern did his due diligence. Way back when in the original Green Goblin run, you could see scenes of Norman Osborn before he even knew that he was the Green Goblin, was hanging out at some club that the Muckety Mucks of New York City at the time hung out at, and J. Jonah Jameson hung out there. And so he was friends with Norman Osborn, and so Norman listened to J. Jonah Jameson talk about things he probably didn't want the public to know. And, well, now Hobgoblin knows. So, publisher J. Jonah Jameson surveys his city as if searching for something amid its gleaming towers that will brighten his day. Jonah, are you ready yet? Ready, Marla? I hope you haven't forgotten our outing. Is that a cigar you told me you were going to quit? I didn't light it, Marla. I just needed it to help me think. What's wrong, Jonah? Please tell me if I can do anything to help. No one can help me with this, Marla, but yes, you should know. A few years ago, I financed a special genetics experiment. Mac Gargan, a man in my employ, underwent treatments designed to make him more powerful than Spider-Man. On that score, the experiment was a success. Mac Gargan became the Scorpion. But the treatments also drove him mad, and there's always a catch. I had hoped to sponsor a crusader who would defeat Spider-Man. Instead, I created a creature who was a bigger menace than Spider-Man could ever be. Yeah, yeah. And then, I don't know, he was just talking about it at the old gentleman's club, and Norman Osborn was sitting there going, and then recorded it in his diary. And now that's in the hands of Hobgoblin, and so he's going to blackmail J. Jonah Jameson. Anyway, I don't know why Peter is dressing like that. Boy, that doesn't age well. That's embarrassing. Yeah, see, it's less embarrassing for him to be in the Spider-Man costume. But anyway, Harry, all of us, they're at the pool party or whatever, and Harry uh, suddenly got upset and ran off. So Peter says, "Oh, I better go see what's going on." Once out of sight of the party, Peter bounds into the treetops, his amazing musculature, over 40 times stronger than that of a normal man, and his astounding agility enabling him to cover vast distances in the blink of an eye. Here he is in the middle of that clearing. At least he doesn't look like he's done anything too crazy. So once again, he's worried that Harry's going to have another meltdown, nervous breakdown, probably turn into the Green Goblin, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Harry needs somebody to talk to, old buddy. No thanks, Pete. I have to handle this myself. Maybe you do, and maybe you don't. Look, we've known each other all through college, and if you're hurting, I want to help. Boy, this is, Pete, I may be beyond help. I don't know. What I've just learned is so unbelievable. I've received an anonymous blackmail demand from someone who has proof that my father was the Green Goblin. What the hell? See, he doesn't remember any of that because he went nuts and then, they quote unquote cured him. Got married, had a kid, and all that stuff, and everything seemed fine. But now some asshole found out and is blackmailing him with the information. But, yeah. So anyway, it's all in here. Photocopies of pages from some secret journal. It's like reading a confession in my father's own handwriting. Scanning the pages, Peter Parker recalls the story he had been told long ago, the story he had kept secret. It had all begun years ago when Norman Osborn had his partner Mendel Strom arrested for embezzlement. You can't do this to me. I just did. So, he said, hey, I was just borrowing some money from the company. Come on. Anyway, with Strom out of the way, Osborn gained complete control of his chemical company, as well as access to Strom's notes and experimental formulas. Osborn decided to check them out personally. But he was not as skilled a scientist as his former partner, so it blew up in his face. Still, Norman Osborn had always been a survivor. He recovered. His mind did not. The chemical explosion had somehow made him inhumanly strong, but that brought him no pleasure. He lusted for power, more power than he could ever come by legally. And so, using his vast resources, Norman created a new identity. He became the Green Goblin. As I recall, it's because his favorite color was green. Yeah. He immediately set out to make a name for himself by defeating Spider-Man. It wasn't as easy as he thought it would be. But eventually, he managed to discover that Spider-Man was secretly Peter Parker. That was nearly the end of Spider-Man. With his great enemy helpless before him, Osborn revealed his identity, taunting Parker with his secret story. But overconfidence got the better of him, and Spider-Man put his foot in his mouth. Wishing to prove his superiority, the Goblin released his captive for one final battle. For the Goblin, it very nearly was. Knocked back into a table of equipment, Osborn received a massive electrochemical shock, robbing him of all memory of the Green Goblin. If only his amnesia had been permanent. But in time, Norman Osborn remembered everything. The Goblin became my deadliest enemy. And then he struck at me through those closest to me and killed Gwen Stacy, the girl I loved. That was the final blow. I tracked the Goblin down, determined to avenge Gwen's death. I wanted to kill him, but I couldn't. I wouldn't become a murderer like him. In the end, fate took a hand. And Norman Osborn was killed by a trap he'd set for me. Or was he? Yeah, he was, but then they decided to bring him back later. But anyway, there you go, his own stupid goblin glider went right into his chest, and he was impaled on the wall. And, well, that was it. Then Harry Osborn became the Green Goblin, went crazy, and all that. And he doesn't remember any of that because, the craziness runs in the family. Plus, he was doing drugs all the time. Anyway, we skip quite a few pages and get to this meeting of all the people being blackmailed by the Hobgoblin. So all these guys were former associates of Norman Osborn, and he kept meticulous records of all their secrets. And then, of course, there's J. Jonah Jameson. So, while just a few walls away, looks like I'm in the same boat with half the club, but why are they staring at me like that? It's him. Must be. His old man was the only one who knew. Norman Osborn would have had proof of the kickbacks. I should have known better than to let Norman in on that oil deal. His boy probably found his private papers. Young Osborn certainly has me over a barrel. I wonder what his demands will be. Merger? Takeover? And at the back of the room, seated apart from his fellow members, I never realized there were so many in the club with so much to hide. I can't imagine what they're thinking. I can't imagine what they're thinking. Perhaps they're right. I used to confide everything in Norman Osborn. He was a good friend. I'd hate to think that his son has stooped to blackmail. We'll find out soon enough. As the clock chimes the hour, a curtain at the end of the chamber slowly opens, and the assemblage meets their master. I'm pleased to see that you're all so prompt. I am the Hobgoblin. We are all going to become very close associates. Well, J. Jonah doesn't like that. He cusses him out and everything. Jonah, please, he could ruin us. You idiots. You're playing right into his hands. If you don't stand up to him now, you'll be paying the rest of your lives. Anyway, Jameson's right. You won't get one red cent from me. You still have a bit of your father in you, Osborn. You're just as crazy as he was. No, that's not true. Then he takes a shot at Hobgoblin, and then what? Oh, it's a robot. Because, I don't know, he just had one of those lying around. You know, the Green Goblin never used robots. I guess maybe he had those lying around. Of course, he stole everything from Mendel Strom, and Mendel Strom made a lot of robots. So I guess maybe that's it. Anyways, robot head's laughing as it falls to the floor. A robot. It was just a robot. The real Hobgoblin could be anywhere. He could even be one of us. This becomes significant later on. This is Roderick Kingsley. Yeah. But it's a long ways away before we get to that. So, anywho, Peter Parker saw this was happening. He went with Harry, but he's in the back room because he's not a member of the club and all that. And then he said, I got to go take a dump. So he goes in there and changes into Spider-Man and is watching all of this happen. But high overhead, I wouldn't bet the family jewels on that, Kingsley. My spider sense is buzzing now, and it feels like the danger is coming from outside. Ta-da! The real Hobgoblin shows up. If you want to meet the real Hobgoblin in the flesh, gentlemen, I'll be happy to oblige. You'll have to forgive me another deception. I wanted to ferret out all the troublemakers in the group. So then he hits Harry. Boom. Look out! Is there anyone else here who's foolish enough to defy me? That was a silly question, wasn't it? So Spider-Man jumps into the fray. Fight. He makes a bat out of his webbings to bat away the goblin bombs. Run where? Hobgoblin must have a PhD in sneaky. As long as these businessmen are in danger, he has me at a disadvantage, and he knows it. Tisk, mighty shoddy craftsmanship, Hobby. At least he doesn't seem to be packing any really big explosives today. The club I rigged up out of broken wood and webbing is stopping these babies easily. What's this? A dud? Maybe I spoke too soon. That dud is disintegrating into some kind of gas. It can't be too dangerous, though, or my spider sense. What? My spider sense! It's gone! He must have duplicated the sense deadening gas the Green Goblin once used on me. Yeah, way back when, yeah. And without my spider sense, yeah. Surprised, aren't you, Spider Man? Well, he shouldn't be again because Green Goblin. So he read the formula in the journals and did the same thing, and stupid Spider-Man fell for it again. Anyway, he gets his ass handed to him by the Hobgoblin, and Hobgoblin's about to kill him, but then who threw that tray? Who dared interfere in the business of the Hobgoblin? I did. There's been too much noise and confusion here today. The kingpin of crime. I'd forgotten that he was a club member. As you say, sir, I shall respect your wishes. As for the rest of you, I will be in touch. Flies away. Anyway, so saying the Hobgoblin wheels about on his jet glider. He does not see the massive fingers which reach down to retrieve the fallen tracer bug. That's Kingpin's massive fingers. And then toss it towards its target with flawless accuracy. Would have been funny if it landed on his ass. But anyway, we shall meet again, Mr. Fisk. Perhaps. Hey, what's Kingpin's deal? He hates Spider-Man. Well, the Hobgoblin's becoming a problem, and he figures, hey, why not just let Spider-Man deal with it? So that's the deal. Yeah. So there you go. That was, well, one of the main plots of Hobgoblin was to blackmail all these people because he had all this info. And even though it kind of the whole meeting was all messed up thanks to Spider-Man and all that, those guys still want to keep it all quiet. So he's going to keep blackmailing them. But J. Jonah Jameson, on the other hand, is just going to go ahead and confess the whole thing. And that leads to a whole other story that goes down. But ultimately, it works out for him because people, wow, it's really courageous and honorable of him to admit his wrongdoing and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, who knew, But anyway, there you go. That's yet another incident of the Hobgoblin. Oh, will this villain ever be stopped? Yeah, but not just yet. Meanwhile, over at Justice League Unlimited #9, we are yesterday epilogue. So, General Grodd, was he ever called? No, I don't think it was Gorilla Grodd, yeah. Had his big plot. He stole the dark side Omega energy, and then he recruited the Legion of Doom from the past. So he screwed with time and all this stuff, and now there's consequences, and they deal with that here, which is just, as it says, an epilogue to that story, which now sets up another story that it just never ends. So great art, though. Here's Harley Quinn as she's always been meant to look. That's her real appearance. Enjoy it while it lasts because it's over. She's from the past and everything. So time is still in flux and people just all of a sudden disappear. They turn in a negative form and then they disappear. So she's going back to her own time and, they're like, well, whatever. Not like she was ever going to be that big of a threat to Green Lantern, but, whatever. So, but they still got all these other people from different times. Look, it's Blue Electro Superman. It's Aquaman with this. See, I don't know how it's like saying that this is from another time. It's from another alternate timeline, I would think, but also be included here. Jonah Hex from the Cowboy Days, so on and so forth. And Abin, sir, oh no. So anyway, and judging by the tremors, it's getting crankier about it. I don't understand why we are being kept here. Surely you have the power to return us to our proper times. None of the familiar methods are working right now, Abin, sir. All right? Maybe don't be in such a hurry to get back because you're going to die and he's going to take your place. But can't tell him, you know. Anyway, all of a sudden, two more. Yeah, Phantom Girl disappears. Batman from a different time disappears. And so there you go. Who the hell is this guy? And what's with the green? That's my Green Lantern stick, dude. Yeah. It's some story they did a while back in World's Finest where Superman and Batman merged into one being. It's, yeah. So, anywho, Black Lightning decides, hey, let's talk to Grodd about all this. We've locked up your Legion of Doom, Grodd. You're done, so talk. How do we stop this craziness? Grodd and his accomplices endangered all existence. He tried to destroy us, nearly killing Dr. Occult and Elongated Man in the process. It is not surprising that the Leaguers are attempting to squeeze Grodd into undoing all the damage. But my educated guess is that the time displacements are no longer my doing. Mr. Lightning, I suggest you search for answers elsewhere. No need. And then, of course, everything changed. I forget who's talking. Is it the Flash? Red Tornado. I forgot. Yeah, Red Tornado is narrating all this. He's now their AI computer because they blew up his android body. It's a long story. Anyway, I am the Time Trapper, my partner, the World Forger. Yeah, I know why time is eroding as we speak. And now, only are the consequences becoming cataclysmic. Unless we take action today, there may be no tomorrow, or even a next issue. Normally, Mr. Terrific would be present to weigh in with his massive intellect. But you'll have to find out where he is. Well, it's, like I said, an in-between story to set up another long-winded story. So it's just ongoing. I don't even know why they call that an epilogue because, I mean, I guess they'll have a different title for their ongoing thing, but they do resolve the airwave story, so you get that in there. But as for the rest of this crap with Time Trapper and World Forger and Grodd, well, that's ongoing. Yeah, it sure is. And it's one of those things they keep doing events and stuff, and now it's literally every 5 seconds there's another one, and the universe is at stake and all that. It's the same story, you know. I mean, they had the Legion of Doom. Why not just do a story where the Legion of Doom's up to something, you know? But it's such a mess, they don't really know how to finally settle down for where the deck chairs should go. So they keep shuffling. So anyway, the art's really good. So there's that. You know, I don't know. Maybe something good will come out of it. Still better than Marvel, you know, but that's not really saying a lot these days. So anyway, there we go. And you got some Hobgoblin stuff out of it to boot. So that's something. So tune in next time for some other comic books, because it's a comic book show. That's right. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again next time.